Hi guys, welcome to Bitcoin Bankers. Today we're going to have a look at Bitcoin and see the action that's been going on lately. I haven't done a video for a little while, so sorry if you've been missing it. But back today, there just hasn't been too much going on over the last few weeks, so that's why I haven't really been doing that many videos on it. But I think it's worth having a bit of a look now. I was going to do one yesterday, and then the price started sort of having that big move again. So I thought I'd get on it and do it today for you. So please click subscribe, and yeah, give us some of those likes, guys. It just supports me and helps get the channel up there, just so the people out there watching YouTube and looking for Bitcoin on YouTube don't always have to keep clicking on the absolute shit garbage morons that are out there at the moment, like your Bit Boys and your Carl the Goon and all these. They're frauds. They got no idea what's going on, but somehow the market seems to like them, so that's the way it is. Anyway, let's get over and have a look at the price. Okay, so we're looking at the charts here, guys. I've gone to the Bitcoin monthly. I know a lot of people, we don't really look at this too much because it's the way that it moves, it's not that important in the grand scale of things when you're trading more regularly. But if you're a hodler and you don't trade, but you're just sort of buying things and holding, you want to know where it goes, the monthly is always a good one to keep an eye on. So what we can see is that this channel is still ever present, I guess you could say, at the moment. Bitcoin has come down and it's really stayed in this channel and maintained itself for some time. Just yesterday, it had that sort of big breakdown. It was looking more like a doji yesterday, and now it's starting to form a bit more of a informative candle. So we still haven't even. Well, I don't have my my TD sequential up here, so a little bit just sort of difficult to see whether that's forming. But I'd really say this is probably just a one candle forming now, maybe. Maybe not even yet, so we'll have to wait and see. But if you don't know what that means, that's okay. It doesn't matter. Looking at the stochastic, it's really starting to sort of make its way down. Is there more coming? You could say there is, but again, the monthly chart responds more to the regular time frames that are going on at lower levels. So what we're going to do is have a bit of a look at that. But in the meantime, what we can see is that it's still holding the channel. There is more of a threat now to Bitcoin breaking below this channel. There's 8 days remaining on this candle for the month. So depending what happens over the next month, I'm expecting the next 8 days, I am expecting this to probably come down a little bit more and start getting support on the bottom of this channel here. If that happens, it may, could you call the bottom? Well, based on other time frames, we'll have a look at that. On the monthly as it stands, I would say it still has more likelihood of coming down to around this area here, just at the top of this moving average, which is technically I've set up as a 20 moving average, maybe 20 week, 20 hour, whatever it is. So, there is still that pretty strong danger that it could move down that range. I'm thinking it might just still sort of stay around here. I won't pull that down anymore. It's okay. I'm happy where it is because of the lower time frames. So the monthly basically telling us that there is a bit more potential that it can come down quite a bit. If we see, according to Michael Berry and a few of these others that are calling for really big market resets, this can come down. Okay, we just got to accept that that's a reality. It can come down and crash pretty hard. Number one, to the probably to here first, the 30,000, which is what we're approaching, and the $26,000 area as well. Once it gets down to these, I think it will probably create a new candle before it gets down to this. If we go down to 26, that 26 region. Worst case scenario, we can keep just falling down to this major area of support, which is around the 14,000, but I do not expect it to come down there at all. There is a possibility, and we always have to be aware of the possibilities, but at this point in time, I don't think that's likely for now. Let's go to the weekly and have a bit of a look. Okay, so on the weekly here, we see that it has been sort of ranging through this area, what I call this channel. It's been in there for a long time. It's been consolidating pretty heavily. It's been what? We'll count this candle: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks now that we've been sitting in this range. 5 weeks technically consolidating. You know, so it's building up a lot of support in this region, but there's also still a lot of resistance at the top of the channel here that Bitcoin just doesn't seem to want to get through right now. Still quite a fair bit of bearish activity that's going on here. There's a lot of FUD, things like that driving it down. But generally speaking, the strength that it's been showing at this level is pretty impressive. I think there's been a lot of industrial buying. A lot of people aren't really sort of ready to sell. There's probably still a lot of people in denial that it is moved into a sort of bit more of a bearish trend. That's what I prefer to call it, a bearish trend than a bear market. You can say it's a bear market under technical technical standards, definitions, but I just prefer it's in a bear trend, is the way I'm looking at this at the moment. So just short term, they tend to last, you know, a couple of months, and then they move on again. We start moving back. The stochastic has really sort of worked its way out of this range now. I've been talking the last few videos where we're expecting it to come down a little bit further. It did bottom. I'm going to go up the top here. It did bottom out around 31st of May, as you can see down there in that time slot, and now we're just sort of, you know, this consolidation sort of being represented through this ranging sort of low end oversold area. So we can see here that there's still a little bit of support under here, not a lot. If this starts dropping down and really breaking under this channel, then I would expect it to, you know, really start heading down to this range here. Reason things are going, why is it still selling off? Why is there not a lot of energy coming back into the market? Because people just aren't certain that this downtrend is finished, okay? We're all sitting on the sidelines, we're all waiting, we're hodling, whatever you might be doing, but there's just not a lot of confidence in the price of Bitcoin at the moment because people are expecting it to go down more, okay? So they're not going to buy in until they get a clear signal that it's time to start getting back into Bitcoin. Now, signals can be, you know, a couple of changes in the market itself. It can be a bit of news and you know, a string of positive events that will give a bit more confidence to Bitcoin. Everyone keeps worrying about the China FUD. Don't worry about China. If they don't want to have Bitcoin mining, that's their fault. They're losing out, trust me. Because in the future, I think countries will prosper by having Bitcoin as part of their economy. So, what we're seeing here at the moment is, you know, there was a death cross that everyone's been talking about, and this is the so the outcome of that death cross. It's always going to sort of push prices down, especially when there's no confidence. And you'll notice death crosses generally come in when people are either cautious about the market, they're not sure what's coming, and that death cross just seems to be a bit of a signal to say, look, you know, there's not a lot of buying, there's not a lot of confidence, need to sell off more. It has been sitting in this range for a long time. I really want, to be honest, I want Bitcoin to come down more because I want to get it at a cheaper rate, right? The cheaper it is, the more I can get. I would love to see Bitcoin come right down to sort of this range here, if not even down to here. You know, that 20,000 mark again. You know, so the more Bitcoin comes down, the more you can get in. If you're still hodling and holding, then at least make sure that you have some money on the side where you can just, you know, be ready to buy Bitcoin when it finally bottoms. Where is the bottom? We don't know. We know that the uptrend is definitely weak. We know that there are not a lot of people buying. Let's put the FUD aside and let's say, look, generally speaking, people are waiting. I don't think people are actually, you know, this fear index, you know, it's a good indicator, but I don't think people are actually afraid of Bitcoin going to zero or Bitcoin collapsing, because everyone who's in Bitcoin pretty much knows these are the corrections it does. This is reasonably normal. I just think the problem is that we came too far up too quick. You know, it really should have sort of gone a bit more like this and just worked its way up, have a bit more of a run. And then if that had happened, I think Bitcoin would be around 80, 90,000 by now, easily. But it didn't. Everyone jumped in, and there's the mania. The mania always kicks in. A lot of people got up and around here, so they don't want it to go down. But at the end of the day, you really don't have to worry. Even if in the worst case scenario, if Bitcoin does sort of just go really bearish and drop along like that, eventually it will still come back up. Like it just will, you know. That's what Bitcoin is. A lot of people have confidence in it. If you don't know why so many Bitcoiners believe it's just going to keep going up, then you need to get in and understand what Bitcoin is compared to all the other shitcoins. Okay, all the other shitcoins have nothing in similarity to Bitcoin. Okay, they just don't. That's just the way it is. You need to understand the engineering, and I don't have time to explain it here, but just go and learn about it. You know, you're not missing anything at the moment. So that's where we are on the weekly. I still think we're going to probably come down. I really think the video I was going to do yesterday was, I was going to say, I really think, given the way things are, that the monthly aside, I think the 28,000 region will probably be about it. I think that will be the bottom. So I'm expecting us to maybe come in along the bottom of this channel a little bit more. We may go below it. It's really hard to tell, but for now, I'm just sticking to the point that I think we're going to see $29,000 Bitcoin, and that'll probably be the bottom. Tone Vay's kind of explained that and said the same thing. He's expecting to come down a little bit more, maybe 26, and that's quite easily a possibility. But I really don't think, you know, it's going to really break far below these ranges because, you know, there's not a lot of activity going on the blockchain at the moment, or the ledger. There's not a lot of people buying or selling. I think most of the selling volume has really dried up. Okay, and so when the selling volume dries up and people aren't really buying in, you do have this gap that can sort of cause the price to keep falling just due to lack of confidence. But it's not a real lack of confidence, it's just the people waiting. They're just waiting to see where this is going to go, you know what I mean? So a lot of people are anticipating to get back in very soon. We just want some signals, some clear signals on where this price is going to go, where it's going to bottom out. I don't like thinking that it's going to sort of bottom out in the middle of sort of previous candles and stuff. That's why I prefer to sort of look at these connection points here. But, you know, so I think the 30,000, the 28,000, 29,000, it could hold its support here or drop down to about the 26, okay? If it keeps going down. It may not. Look at the daily. Let's have a look. So you can see again, I've put this line here ages and ages ago, and you know it's sort of been holding and playing around this sort of central area. It's really just been going within a couple of thousand on either side of this line. We have the moving averages, and the ribbon's sort of holding strong at the top on the daily there, but the moving averages continue to sort of go down. The daily stochastic is still sort of showing selling off. But it's very gradual, it's very slow, it's not that hard hitting. So if you look from the top here, I mean, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 solid days of selling off. It's dropped down, you know, almost $9,000-$10,000 so far. So it's a reasonable drop. If you go back, you can see, if you go back to the bull run, you can see we had days, one day where Bitcoin almost went up $9,000-$10,000. Pretty amazing stuff. So the fact that it's taken 7 days to sell off and come down to here, you know, is it just tells me that even though there's selling pressure, as I said before, I don't think there's a lot of heavy selling. I don't think there's a lot of big sell-off positions to knock it right down to something disastrous. Well, the chart doesn't look that great. I just don't think in the long run Bitcoin will drop that far, much further down, but I could be wrong, you know. I still think it's holding this area pretty well, and given the selling volume, which I can show you here, just looking on here, this is BTC markets, and it's just kind of showing the market depth, and you can see that there's so many people having positions way back here, just below this mark. And there's really not a lot of selling going on at all. A lot of selling positions, there's just very, very little. You know what I mean? So there's this big stockpile of people sitting and waiting for the price to start coming down into these ranges. And you can see, let's see, so around, around the $32,000, which is this is Australian dollars, so it's about 10,000 under where we are now. There's about 140 Bitcoin waiting to be bought on this exchange, just around these regions. So there is a lot there. There's a lot of people there. They're just sitting there waiting. Okay, so you have to take that as you choose. Okay, let's go down to the smaller time frames and move this along a bit. Okay, so you're kind of struggling a little bit around this area. Normally I would count on, when you have a drop like this, I jumped in to try and get a bit of a, I don't like catching a falling knife, that's what they call it when you buy into a downtrend. Well, I was hoping to sort of catch something around this area, but I kind of did, and it dropped down a bit last night. This was yesterday. And it's going to come back up, and it's not really showing a lot of strength yet. So the 4 hour, there could be a little bit more happening. Normally it does sort of run up and try and bounce off previous sort of lows there, or around once they come into line. You can sort of get a little run up and make a little bit of profit there, but it didn't quite happen this time. But we're getting very similar to what happened here. It tried to maintain itself, dropped back down, bought back up, but it was still pretty bullish here. It's not as bullish this time. Okay, there's not as many, because we're getting right close to dropping down here, so a lot of people are a bit afraid of getting in. Again, it's not the fear index in this case. I think is not that people are afraid it's just going to go to nothing. It's just that they're afraid it's going to go a bit lower, and so they don't want to get in yet. Okay. Anyway, guys, that's about it on Bitcoin. Would you be trading now? I wouldn't be like trading leverage or anything. If you wanted to try and get a position, and because the Bitcoin might go up over the next 24 hours and then sort of come back to this region, you've got to make that decision yourself. I jumped in yesterday to try and see if I could get a bit of a swing up. Didn't quite happen. I'm not worried. I can still wait a little bit longer. I think there still will be a bit of a bounce. There's a bit more of a bounce going on here over the time frames, but that window is getting smaller. The window is starting to close, so I'm going to have to try and hope that I can get a position to maybe jump out of if it's not moving up. I don't want to lose too much. So that's kind of where we are there. The 1 hour, very quickly. Again, there's been a lot of people sort of buying into this, sort of getting, maybe it's just people accumulating a new position. See, there are a lot of people out there that can buy here, and if it drops down to 26, it doesn't bother them. They'll just buy more here, and as it starts to climb up, they start to make their profits because they're holding for long periods of time. I'm getting to the point now that when I get this, if it drops down, I get this next lot of Bitcoin, I'll probably just start becoming more of a hodler myself for a time while it runs up, and then make some new assessments. Right now, I wouldn't be leverage trading at all. I'd be very, very careful about what you're doing, because it's extremely sort of unstable. Not very volatile, but it's not very stable at the moment. We just don't know where it's going to go. So if you want to accumulate here, I would maybe wait for it to sort of drop down to around this region and wait for it to drop here before you start accumulating again. But the amount that you're accumulating, it's really not going to make a big difference whether it's here, or 26. It depends how much you're getting. If you're buying 10 Bitcoin here, well, you're better off waiting till it gets down to this mark or breaks under before you get your 10 Bitcoin. If you're getting 0.1 total Bitcoin, if that's all you can afford, that's great. You can get it here, it'll drop down, and then go up. It won't matter. It really won't affect you too much. It just depends. If you're happy to hold, then hold. Okay, just a quick look at the altcoins. You can see them all sort of pretty much moving here, but they have taken a big hit. If I open up a new window, just go to CoinSpot, and just having a look at the range, you can see the altcoins are getting hit pretty hard. You got Cardano's come right back down. I'd probably hold off on buying a little bit at the moment. Might want to see where this is going, but hey, look, even if you do buy now, like Cardano's holding up pretty damn well. It was still around the $2 mark up until a day or two ago. So one of my things like Cardano or Binance, You know, I got Polkadot a while ago and I've lost a fair bit on that, but I'm not worried. I'm going to hold it to the end of the year, maybe next year. These coins you can buy a small amounts of and just hold. It doesn't really affect your portfolio if you're buying it smart. If you're putting 50 grand into this, then you're probably going to be upset right now. But if you're just putting a couple of $100 into these, you can hold it for the next 6 months. It won't matter. You know, if you, let's say you bought 3,000 or 5,000 worth of Cardano, yeah, it's down. It's going to hurt a little bit, but I wouldn't be too worried. Okay, I really wouldn't be too worried. Again, Link, you know, there's dropping down. We've got these big 15-14% moves, and you just got to be aware if you're new to these kind of cryptos. These are the moves they can make. They make big up and down moves. They're volatile. There's 20%, 18%. But if you're buying smart and you're mainly sort of holding Bitcoin or you're just holding cash and buying small amounts of these, you know, maybe each one makes up 2% of your portfolio, and you got 10, so there's 20% of your portfolio is 10 of these. Yeah, they're going to be looking down at the moment, but these are things that you can hold for 6 months, even a year, and just see where they go. Well, while you're buying cheap at the moment, just let them hold. Okay, it's your choice. There's 100 different strategies that you can take. You got meme coins like that. You got to be careful of these new ones. Shiba, look, that's just being destroyed. When they come out, when a new coin comes out of the market, let it go down first for a while. People are going to buy into it, and it's just going to dump. It always does. Just let it dump, and it might take a while for it to come back up. Don't be so eager to think you have to be the first one in. Being the first one in is not usually a good idea. Okay. So you can see these are going down pretty badly. I'm just going to go back to my chart here. We'll look at Binance quickly. Most of these coins you'll see are doing pretty much the same thing as Bitcoin, but let's have a longer view of it. Okay, you will get a better image. So Binance, it's broken out of that the big triangle that we had going. It's really been hit pretty hard. Trying to find a bit of survival. I think this could probably keep going down quite a bit longer. If we have a look at the weekly, yeah, just not holding up very strong at the moment. I think when you start seeing this formation here, it's going to keep going down more, and it can start going down pretty heavily. You could get this little W pattern where it tries to pop up on the stochastic here, but when the stochastic's looking like that, it's not a good sign, in my experience. Okay, so I think these coins might take a bit more of a hit down, at least Binance here. Let's look at Dogecoin if anyone's interested in that. Weekly, I don't have any real metrics there, so let's look at the daily. And again, this day looks pretty strong to sort of come back up here and have a bit of a run back up. Like I said, when you have these big dumps, there's usually a bit of a bounce back. It can take a bit of time, but if your stochastics are strong on a number of time frames, you can actually bring them back up. So you can sort of set your first limit to say, okay, I think it might come back up to around this point. You know what I mean? Because that's where sort of the last area of support is, and it's kind of a race on whether this gets up there in time or the moving average sort of comes down to meet it, and that's kind of a little trade that you can take. You know what I mean? And this might play out over 2 weeks or even a week. Maybe even 3 days. Bang, bang, bang. You might get a good run up. But it's already run up. I think it was 16 cents this morning, and it's already run up 20%, so 25%. So you've been making pretty good just on those little trades. But you don't want to hold these sort of tokens too long. I'll do Cardano because I know a lot of people like Cardano. Last time we spoke about Cardano, we were hoping that it was going to hold in this range here, and really hope that it would maintain its strength and not drop out of the triangle. And Ethereum was in the same position. Although Cardano moves more like Bitcoin, or more in sync with Bitcoin than it does with Ethereum. But on the stochastic, there's been a lot of overselling. We might expect to see a bit of a pump back up towards the triangle. That would be nice. Just don't know what kind of momentum it has at the moment. Yeah, not looking the best on the monthly, but that can change reasonably quickly, Let's go back to the daily. That was the weekly, sorry. Daily, I could see a bit of a pump. It just depends, how much heavier side we have with the Bitcoin selling off, and just the way the markets move. So you're probably getting the picture now that everything is very unstable. It's what people say, there's a lot of volatility there. It can move in many different ways, many different directions, or two different directions hard. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people are probably seeing opportunities to buy at the moment, so it's not an altogether bad thing, but you need to know when you're going to buy and when you're going to sell. You need to sort of decide when you're going to move out. If you sort of got in up here and you've fallen down now to here, if this is the area that you bought in, probably should have looked at selling when it came back up, you know what I mean, or was about to break this kind of region here. It's okay to take a little bit of a loss. You just don't want to lose half your earnings. Cardano's a strong coin. If you're happy to keep holding it, I'm still holding mine. I'm not doing anything with it, just going to hold it. So very small position. I don't care if it sort of keeps going down a little bit, because I know eventually enough people believe in this sort of thing that it will start coming up when the market starts getting bullish again. So just have to sit and hold, mate. Sit and hold. Okay, not a big deal. One final look at Ethereum. Okay, so Ethereum's broken out of this sort of range here as well. Stochastic showing that there is a bit more of a sort of bullish move to try and come back up into this range here. I don't think it's going to come back into the triangle at this point in time. I think Ethereum is facing some downside, some pretty heavy downside if you look at the weekly. Just not looking too good at the moment. Okay, had we not moved into this real sort of heavy bear trend, it would have definitely sustained itself. We would have got a really nice pop there, but Ethereum did have a big run up, so it's only expected that it's going to start selling off and pulling down, and with the extra FUD, people are going to keep selling off. So I do see Ethereum sort of maybe coming down a little bit longer. The dailies, stochastics showing that there's signs to push back up, but I don't know if it'll be strong enough. I think longer term, you can probably expect Ethereum to maybe come back down to the 1350, maybe around there. Or maybe get support around this, maybe around the bottom of these two here, so around the 1600. Gets to there, reassess what you're looking at. Okay, anyway guys, that's pretty much it for today. There's a lot of people out there showing that they know everything about Bitcoin, and they're trying to blow smoke up your ass, and some will say, oh, just hold, it doesn't matter, if you bought at the top, just hold, because it's going to go back up again. Yeah, it will eventually go back up again, but the better thing is you need to have strategies, and a lot of people are not showing you strategies. They're telling you to get into leverage, they're telling you to get this, they can multiply your winnings by 100%, but what they don't tell you is that when it goes down, you can lose by even more magnitude, okay? And when you lose it and you get cleaned out, it's shit. It's a terrible feeling, okay? It can really destroy your confidence as well. So you need to do exercises that are confidence building for your trading. You need to be smart. Don't worry about FOMO. Don't worry or fear of missing out. Bitcoin and these things can move pretty quickly, but they always do correct themselves a little bit, okay? They're always trying to, they'll have a big spring and then they'll just kind of come back and then they'll go again. It's plenty of time to get in, plenty of time to get out, your choice. You just got to know the right spots to get out to cash, which would have been around here. And the best times to sort of get into cash, and sometimes that's going to take a bit of a risk. You need to be able to accept some risk when you're trading. If you're trading, you gotta accept the risk, okay? Sometimes you're gonna make a bad decision, but at the end of the day, if you're trading Bitcoin, like I said before, if you're trading Bitcoin, it's looking like this, still a lot of wicks up, so there's still a lot of bullish strength, and let's say you're buying here and it goes, it crashes out to here, that's not that big a deal. If it went and crashed right down to here, that would hurt. So you should go back and say, is this the time to get in? Do I want to catch a falling knife? Do I want to really take the risk, or is my risk too high? Okay, and the best thing to always do is just kind of wait for a trade. Now I've been out probably 6-7 weeks now. I mean, I got out up here. All right, I went to cash up around this area. Okay, and I just got out and I waited because I saw this coming down, and I jumped in once or twice for a short sort of knife catch around here, and I jumped in yesterday for a bit of a knife catch here. You know, now the one I did yesterday was far more risky. I didn't really want to do it, but I thought, it might have a bit of a chance of sort of having a bit of a run up. I know the weekly is really strong. I knew that the 4 hourly here was kind of down around this range. So it was down here, sort of looking for a bit of a move up. So, you know, I wasn't overly concerned, you know. I'm still not that concerned, but I do have to make a decision on when I'm going to jump out. And what I'm watching is that if Bitcoin can just sort of maybe move to around this region or even here, just around this area here, might be a spot for me to jump out and take some profit, go back to cash, wait and see what I'm doing. I don't know, it's got to play out. But really, I haven't been able to do a trade for 6 weeks, you know, and after a while it does start to suck. You know, because sometimes you need some of that money to, you know, with a little profit taking to pay some bills and things, and it can make life a little bit harder. You know, but I'm probably saying too much then. So anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Bitcoin Bankers, please like, please subscribe, click the bell, that way I can get attention on when I am releasing these videos. And let's have a look at the market. Keep an eye on it. Don't be too worried. If it goes cheap, if it goes down, just know you can get cheaper coin. If it goes up, just decide whether you're going to make a decision about getting in. You know, if it starts breaking these, then you can get in, you know. Even if it starts sort of breaking this line and starts getting up above and the averages are looking strong, and yeah, but I think it's going to move up this way too quickly just yet. So let's see where we're going. Keep it at that. Thanks guys. See you next time. Cheers.